Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of Video Games to the Max. I am your host, Sean Garmer, here with me, as always, Mr. Rick Morrison.
Howdy.
Well, we have some new games to talk about here on this edition of the show. I'll be talking about Stellar Blade. We got Marc playing No Rest for the Wicked. Some other games. I got to dabble a little bit with Tales of Kenzera Zau and also Another Crab's Treasure as well. So lots of souls in one way or another when we're talking about the games here today. So with that being said, there is some news, but none of it's big stuff. A lot of it's going to be talking about the games for the most part today. But hey, still worth checking into this episode 395 of the show, and we'll talk about all these things and more right after this.
You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right, so, well, before we get into talking about games, you went to a convention.
Yep.
Let go and
it was good. Yeah, my where I live, or where I kind of am, they do like a twice yearly retro gaming convention. This is the first one of this year. It was cool. Met some friends up there. I was looking for 6 specific things, like old games, and wouldn't you know it, I got 0 out of 6.
Ah, man.
Yeah. And the stuff I'm looking for isn't the rarest stuff. It's not like $800 or anything, but yeah, just obscure shit that, or 1 or 2 things like Kirby's Dream Land 2 for the Game Boy. I didn't find any copies of that, or Super Metroid, but the Super Famicom, the Japanese copy. No one had that. But I got 4 things. I got, let's see, the big thing is probably the Persona 4 Dancing All Night Disco Fever edition for Vita. Okay. That's the limited edition. It came with the soundtrack and some other stupid crap. I got Majora's Mask, the Japanese copy, because it was only $10. So it's why not? I got a
the
Dreamcast
64 version, I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't have the 3DS, so. I got a Dreamcast Game Shark with the memory card. So if I ever want to play Dreamcast crap, it'll be easier to do that.
Right.
And I got the Comics Zone soundtrack.
That's a good soundtrack.
Well, it's the original one, which is limited, very much. And it was also expensive. But I like Comic Zone. That's a cool game.
Yeah. I always when I play Comic Zone, I think about the soundtrack at times.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best part of that damn game, because it certainly isn't the gameplay.
Well, and the visual style was cool for the
time. Everything about Comic Zone is cool except actually playing the game.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I was there for 2 hours. I was really exhausted when I got home.
Did you get to meet any of the people that went, the celebrities or anything like that? Or
I think only one guy was listed as going, and I don't think he showed up. I think he skipped it, or maybe he had something else. Oh
man!
So that's fine. I'd be, if it was Pat Contry showing up, I'd probably want to meet him, or other people, or Case or Kelsey from Pink Gorilla or something. But this is a very small convention, local convention, so they're not gonna they can't get a big gaming name like that necessarily. But yeah, it was cool, and it was in a much bigger. I went to this last year in November, and it was in a pretty small Elks Club or meeting hall. This was in a city pavilion or a city convention hall or something. So it was way bigger, which is cool. So we weren't crowding around in the trying to get to in the hallways or anything.
Yeah.
And there was
that's better when you have more space. You're not having to
be
crammed in there.
there was one guy or one booth that had like a ton, and I don't collect for the NES, so it kind of went by me. But he had like all the NES big hitters for sale. He had like a copy of Panic Restaurant boxed, and like that was like $1,500.
Wow,
uh,
$1,500 just for one.
he had a copy of Little Samson, a loose copy. That's about $2,000. He had a
Jesus Christ!
boxed copy of Flintstones 2, Surprise at Dinosaur P. A boxed copy of that. I mean, I'll go according to price charting, is like $4,000.
No way.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. So it was cool. I had a really good time, hooking up with some people, and yeah, just looking at stuff. So yeah.
Man, well, that's good. That's good that you enjoy yourself there.
Yeah.
But all right, let's get into. I spent my after work building this shelf that you see behind me here. If you're watching the video version, so I can put all my gaming and nerdy stuff back there.
All right. I just got more behind me.
Yeah. So that was my whole. Let's build an actual podcast background now instead of kind of just showing nothing the whole time.
Showing the closet.
Yeah, exactly. Showing my closet or my door. So yeah, sorry for the audio listeners, y'all are not getting that at all. But hey, one of the things you get to do when you watch the video anyway. But
Yeah.
let's get into actually talking about games. I think at this point everybody's probably heard what they want to hear about Stellar Blade. So I think a game that, especially with all these games that have been coming out this week, and that doesn't even include the Hades 2 technical test. No Rest for the Wicked also kind of came out, last week. What did you were saying some things about the art and all that, but how far are you? And
I'm not that far. I just made it to like the first main town, or I think it's the only main town really. So that is one of the ugliest games I've ever played.
All right, but I mean, we talking about, isn't it supposed to be dark and kind of dreary?
Dark is one thing, but when you have arms that are longer than your torso, or that like reach to your knees, that's a problem. And everyone else in the game is ugly as well. It's not like
okay, oh, it's an art style.
Yeah, but like it's distracting. Like it's a problem when the game is like revolting to look at.
Okay,
and it's not like what's that? I forget that Geiger-esque game that for like PC that came out a few years ago. It's not, or like it's not like Machine, the pigs game. I forget the name of that. It's not like grotesque, or it's not like supposed to be. I think it's intentional, but I don't think like they realize how ugly the game is. And it's also from the developers of Ori. Like they have good art, or they had good art direction at one point. Like,
well, but there's two different games, though. I mean,
hire that dude back. Well, it's also like distracting in the game because, like, okay, even if the character, like, you can ignore the character stuff kind of if you just kind of really button through it, but like the pathing in the game is like hard to like pick out, or it's hard to even.
That's fair.
See what you're going through like half the time.
Okay, that makes more sense to me. If you're gonna tell me that it makes it hard for you to see where you're going, and you have to, like you were telling me, you had to constantly mess with the brightness on the
crank that way up, and also like it's not like a traditional Diablo game. Like it looks like it kind of, but you can like jump up and like walk along like fence paths or like stuff. Like it's multi-level to an extent, but it's hard to know what you're jumping up on, or if it just feels like you're almost like breaking the game to an extent when you're doing stuff like that. But yeah, it looks like Diablo, but it doesn't play like it because it's I mean, it's not like it's a little like Dark Souls kind of, but like not really. Like
I've heard that the combat is more kind of Dark Soulsy.
Well, you only have like a light
But
attack, and you can like charge it up. You can unlock if you're wearing it or wearing like a staff or holding it. You can have like magic spells, but you only get like 2 shots of that before it's done. Or you have to like level it up until you can have more magic power. But you're not facing like 20 enemies at once or anything. You're facing 1 or 2.
yeah.
Because it's pretty low stamina bar. So
Well, okay. I
attacking
mean, but that's kind of like in the Souls sort of vein of like they're
yeah.
not trying to overwhelm you.
Well, that's what I meant. Like, yeah, that's why, like I
Yeah.
said, you're not facing 20 enemies. Because if you were, you'd be dead instantly. I think at most, I think I faced 3. So yeah, it's a lot of like guarding and parrying, which the parry is like pretty bad, I think. Uh, and just like maneuvering
I should
around.
note that the game's in early access, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also weird when they send out review codes like for an early
That's
access thing.
that's what the weird thing with early access is now, right? Like early access is treated almost like
The
okay,
soft
we're gonna
launch.
treat it like it's a full-fledged game,
Yeah.
but then you're supposed to not judge it as critically as if it is the full game, but you're allowed
Yeah.
to play it early,
Right.
Uh
Uh,
do,
so
do you like the whole isometric view with the sort of Soulsy combat, or because I mean you don't see that a lot, right? Most of it is
no,
the
it's okay. I mean,
yeah.
it seems a little easy to cheese because like you can just get out of the way of stuff a lot easier in this than like Dark Souls because you do move a little faster in this,
Yeah.
uh, which does help. Uh, so yeah, I'll keep playing it, but like the initial thing is just like the initial look of it is just really so off-putting that oh god, and even like I
Yeah,
sent the like
I
those
could see what you're saying about it being dark, right? That it's kind of
yeah
difficult to see or whatever. But I do think that's probably part of the art style, like trying to be dark. I have heard some people are kind of concerned that they don't want it to turn into a Diablo game. That there's a lot of push for them to try to turn it into that. So hopefully they
well
keep it for what they want it to be.
that's what's popular or
Yeah,
like I Diablo games have like a pretty long tail. I don't think this will like
yeah.
uh so we'll see.
I mean, if it doesn't, if they keep it the way it is, that's kind of what their games are, like Ori was. It was a tremendous platformer, probably one of the best ones to come out in a really long time.
Right.
And but you play it and you think about it afterwards, but it's kind of it, right? It's not meant for you to play it over and over and over like a
Yeah.
Diablo would be. So it feels like the intention was to make this game in a similar way. So
Yeah,
hopefully
I faced like one big enemy or like one big boss character. That was kind of fun, but it's okay. I don't think it'll like be as like impactful or as like special as Ori was. So
yeah. I think it's hard when you're coming out in a year where the reigning champion of that style right now is about to have DLC that's probably going to take over
yeah,
everyone in at the end of June. So yeah, it's kind of hard to compete in that way. This will probably be one of those that okay, we'll remember it was there, but it's when you look at the grand scheme of things at the end of the year, it's not going to be one of those uh big games. But I mean, it for it being what it is, at least it stands on its own
yeah,
in that way. And you've been playing anything else here?
yeah. I don't have Stellar Blade, so I've been playing the next best thing to it, Deadpool.
Deadpool. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
How is it? We're talking about the what's that? Isn't that 360 game or
Yeah, I have it on
yeah
PC. They delisted it like years ago, but I still got it. It was annoying to set up a controller for that thing. Thank God, like Steam implemented like controller emulation because like
yeah
I think the only controller it actually supports is like the Xbox 360 one, which I don't have anymore. uh, it's okay. It's really standard. Uh, like, and the humor is not particularly great, but you know, it's what you want out of a Deadpool game, I guess.
I wonder if Disney will try to get someone to make a new Deadpool game if that new
No,
movie does well.
what they'll do is they'll just remaster this game for the second time and then put it out on PS5 and Xbox Series X.
Please don't. Please don't. It'd be cool if they could somehow get Ryan Reynolds to do the voice and everything.
Well, yeah, that's what they should do is
Yeah.
just have him re-record all the dialogue. Or have him like re-record the Deadpool dialogue because like the game also has like narration that is also
Right.
Deadpool, but still have Nolan North doing that, or have like new dialogue where they're like arguing with one another.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
down for that.
Yep. And I played a little of the well, me and Jens finished the Remnant 2 DLC, the new one, last night, which bugged out on us a few times, so that was cool.
That's always fun.
Yeah. We got in one area where I didn't have a mini map at all. So it looked like I was like out of bounds on the map.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool. And then he's a big trophy whore. I'm not really. But like when we finished the DLC, we're supposed to get a trophy for like befriending this one guy. And he was like, "Oh, we're now great friends," and he gave us whatever thing he needed to, but we didn't get the ring, or he didn't get the trophy. Sorry, neither one of us did. So, I mean, I don't have the DLC, so that's probably why I didn't get it, but he did, and I think it's because like I talked to him and not he didn't, or because like we missed talking to him at one point, so it didn't count. So he was dismayed about that.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
So he won't go back and get it later then?
Probably not. He's also, we'll talk about Stellar Blade probably in a minute, but he's incredibly angry about that or dismayed about that.
Why?
To the point, well, he pre-ordered the digital deluxe edition, and he already
I did too.
He preloaded it also, so he can't get a refund now. And then I mentioned to him about the stupid outfit censoring.
No. Please don't tell me he's one of these people that got mad about some lace on an outfit.
Yes, he did.
Oh my God, really?
To the point where he bought a Japanese copy of the game, like a physical one, and he'll play that instead. And it's like, dude,
wow.
Because his mentality is like, oh, I want to support the original artist's intent, or it's censorship.
It is the original artist's intent. Shift Up are the ones that decided to do that, not Sony.
But also, it's just like, it's one outfit out of like 30.
It's the bunny outfit that looks silly on her, but I get people are gonna probably put it on her or whatever. But it's just like,
who cares?
Still, it's just There's so many outfits in that game.
Yeah,
there's no need for that to make a big deal about one outfit.
Personally, I very rarely even change outfits in the first place when I'm playing a game.
Well, in this game, you kind of want to.
Well, unless it has like a gameplay focus, I don't really care. It
kind
of
does, along with the gear that you wear, it kind of does matter. Like if you put that skin suit on, she has like no natural defense.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. People kept showing off that skin suit, but you really don't want to wear that in the game because then you have no natural defense. And even the gear is really more about powering up things. It's not necessarily like defensive. So you're not helping things by doing that. So,
but it's not like, oh, you equip this one costume, you have life regeneration. I mean, some games are like that,
right?
Or you equip this costume, you have more attack power. It's not really like that. It's more, a lot of it is just like costume DLC or just cosmetic. So who cares? I'd rather just wear like the normal costume because that's probably the original intent of the damn game. Or like
No, I mean they have an intent. They actually did have an intent as to why they wanted her to change costumes, and they had to take that out. So that like her having costumes actually is part of the game. It's not just only there to, give
Yeah.
you something to change costumes for. I mean, since we're already talking about it, I guess I did talk about the demo, so it's not like we haven't talked about this game on here before. If you've been watching for a while, so should mention that I've gotten a little bit past. I basically restarted the game, even though I had the save from the demo. I had beaten the demo, so I didn't need to, but I did it just because I didn't play the demo over and over like some folks have. So I kind of wanted to get reaccustomed to the combat, especially after I just got done playing 16,
Right.
and it's totally the opposite of that game. So I was like, yeah, let me just go back and kind of start fresh with this.
Yeah.
And literally the demo was the first area. So and I got a little bit past that, so I've done like a few of the side quests and things like that. The game is it's really good as far as the combat goes. The combat is awesome. If you like Souls games, it's not as it's very rigid in that it wants you to parry. You have to learn how to parry. You're not going to be able to, you can, but you're going to get hit unless I'm sure that there's going to be some pro gamer that shows you how to play this game dodging the whole time.
Right.
But things are really tight. The windows are tight in this game. Even the animations are actually like 0.5 seconds off actually from what Shift Up said this is on purpose.
Yeah.
So it really is meant for you to learn how to block, how to parry, how to stop the attacks, or to use some of the skills to recognize when the colors change so that you know when you have to use blink or repulse or do the dodge or just run away if you need to or whatever. So yeah, this is not Rebirth or 16 where you're going to be like, oh, I can just dodge my way out of everything. You really do have to learn like the nuances of blocking and kind of recognizing all the different attacks, because there's times where I'm sure when you get later in the game, they will be popping in those different colored attacks more consistently, and you have to really know how to recognize it. The combos feel good. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was gonna say the demo or like the gameplay kind of made me think of Metal Gear Rising.
Yeah, I mean it's not as actiony, but it can feel a bit more.
As far as
yeah,
parrying versus just dodging,
right.
that game was all about that.
Yeah, so you have you have some of the flash of Bayonetta and DMC, but don't expect the game to play like that. If you for some reason are looking at this, maybe some of the controversy, maybe some of the trailers or whatever have hyped you up and you didn't play the demo, I would rarely recommend anybody that's kind of on that brink of you don't know if this is the kind of gameplay for you, play the demo. Don't spend $70 on something that you wind up, oh, I hate this, because the problem, that's not necessarily a problem, but it's like this is not a game that's built on, well, if I kind of just meander through the combat, there really is no kind of meandering through the combat. You kind of have to get it to progress. And then the problem is the story is not that great to keep progressing. Like, Eve is not this wonderfully fleshed out character. It doesn't feel like she's gonna progress much more than the way she is at the start.
I've heard different things, or
Yeah, but I mean, if I'm playing a 30-hour game and I have to wait till the last 5 hours of the game for it to finally feel like it makes sense, there's still something wrong there. I get it that this is the company's first like big AAA production, and they had to start thinking about things that you don't think about when you're making when you don't make these kind of level of games. But I mean, again, like the people that love this kind of combat, that combat will carry you through because the side quests are similar. You're gonna go try to find someone. You'll find whatever it is that you find, and then a lot of times you're gonna fight a boss again, or you're gonna fight a bunch of enemies, or then there's some that actually kind of have different setups. So like there's some that have the sort of like they take away your melee and you have to use the gun, right? And they sort of make it like a Resident Evil type gameplay there, somewhat. Right. So they do kind of vary things up. There's even I saw like a platforming section. There's several platforming sections in this game too. So they try to kind of like change this stuff up here and there. But I'm enjoying the game. Like it's again, like the music is great too. A lot of Nier Automata in there. Obviously, this whole game is inspired by Nier Automata, really.
Right.
When he had that interview with Yoko Taro, it was pretty much because he tried to make this game really a lot like Nier Automata, which is not a bad thing. Nier Automata is a great game. If there's a game out there to kind of emulate, that is one, right? And it's not like there's a million of those out there. So yeah, they did that a lot with the music and some of the gameplay style in Eve. Yeah, the world's kind of like all over the place. It feels like sometimes you just even in like the IDOS 7 section that you're in, like there's all this kinds of different like iconography everywhere. And I'm just kind of like, this really seems like I don't know if they do this on purpose or it's just like let's just throw all this stuff all over the place or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, kind of just know what you're getting into, right? If you're playing this game, it's for the gameplay, not necessarily for a lot of the other stuff. But I mean, they do reward you, with a lot of different gear and items all the time. They have the rest spots like Dark Souls, where you can go in there and that's where you're going to respawn, where you rested at last. And then you can go in there and mess with your buy items. You can respick the skill tree. They have a lot of skills for you to learn too, different ways for you to play if you want. So yeah, there's a lot of a good variety in there. I have a feeling that we're not going to be talking about this game necessarily for game of the year necessarily, but I think it will be. I think it's going to be one that definitely I feel like already might be in my top echelon of this year. And it's weird because I don't like Souls games at all, but there's something about the way this combat works that is working for me so far. So yeah, I just and then also like the sound design in this game is so good. Like every time you parry, you hear that ka-ching, and it just feels really good. And then you like knock the guy back completely, and you get to do one of these sick combos that she does. And the combos are really fun to do too. So yeah, just this game, been enjoying it. Just it is kind of frustrating at times where it's funny like the way they do this, because like I said, I'm not used to these games that much. Of the rest spot will remember that you grab this item from somewhere. You don't have to go back and get your item like another game I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But you have to go and like the enemies are going to respawn. So you then have to decide, do I want to go through that area again, or do I want to like veer off and go somewhere else? Because there are a lot of different there's a lot of different pathings that you can go through to go find items and stuff like that too. So it is worth exploring the game. It's not like you can mainline if you want to, but it is fun to kind of like just go.
I know aside from the demo, like there were like safes or stuff that he couldn't open.
Exactly. So those are in the side quests. It's gonna like let you time travel back to that area again, and then it'll go where you can unlock it, whatever is in there. So it gives you a reason to go back to these places too. And then there's open world areas where you do some of the side quests as well. So yeah, that's Stellar Blade. I'll probably be talking about it more. Just to kind of stay on the Souls bit for a little bit here. Another Crab's Treasure that came out it's on Game Pass.
That's a SpongeBob sequel or side sequel, isn't it?
Yeah. He looks like Mr. Krabs. But no, it's actually kind of funny. It's endearing in the way that this all kind of sets up a literal lone shark shows up and tells you that you now have to pay taxes, and so then this crab has no money, of course, and his trade barter value that of things he has doesn't really work for this new system that they have here. So they take your shell, and then you have to go exploring to find another one. That's kind of the setup for this game. But it's a Souls game. If you did not know, if you just kind of look at it and it looks kind of cute or whatever, it has Souls combat. It actually has the Souls, like where you do lose your stuff if you die, and you have to go and get it back.
Get
Or
the
if you
bloodstain
die
back.
while you don't go get it back, you lose it. So
right.
You're gonna like collect these little objects. I forgot to mention that also Stellar Blade, she likes to collect cans for some reason. So
just like Death Stranding.
yeah. So but no, like this. So your weapon that you have at the beginning is a fork, and you have to learn to use this fork, and that's your kind of combat weapon. But it has like the dodging and the parrying stuff from Souls, and these crabs hit you hard. They don't play around. So you do have to like get good at the combat. Like I'm really early in it, so I can't really tell you too much, but it's a fun game to go play. And if you like this type of combat, it's another game. If you have, especially have Game Pass, go check it out. Like it feels like they got some good humor in there. I like the setting of just like it's under the the whole under the sea kind of thing. So yeah, I might still be playing it here and there, especially once I get done with Stellar Blade.
Can it ever top, as far as underwater games go? Can it ever top the Little Mermaid section in Kingdom Hearts 1?
If we can just not mention that Little Mermaid section in Kingdom Hearts 1, I'll be. You know what? Most of it is okay. It's just like fighting Ursula is more the annoying thing.
Wasn't that more Kingdom Hearts 2 though?
You fight Ursula. Yeah, you do fight Ursula again in 1.
I remember
the swimming got a little bit corrected in 2. In 1, it's absolutely terrible trying to get the camera behind. You can't really see behind her back, and you have to like hit her in the back of the neck or whatever, and it's so freaking annoying. Yes. But a game that you might actually like a lot. This is on PS Plus Premium. Tales of Kenzera Zau is another one of these Metroidvanias. And this one is this was really about like story also. That right at the beginning they hit you with the main crux of it, that the main character's father's has passed, and so it's kind of like him trying to get a grasp with grief throughout the game, right, as you're like getting the powers and doing things. And I like the different powers in this game, the way that it had one of them has like a big, like just like a laser thing you can shoot and aim with, and the other one's like a bit more heavy attack or whatever, and it does have a map, things like that. So I just like the games like this exist. It's cool that Sony was able to do the deal for PS Plus with this, so many people could play it, because it does deserve to be played. I think it's not gonna beat like Prince of Persia on like the production level, but I think this might give it a running as far as like one of the better Metroidvanias of this year. So definitely if you got PS Plus and you like those kind of games, I would check it out for sure. It's just I couldn't play this too much because I had to do some of the things this week. I didn't even get to Ayuden Chronicle. Really. So that's another thing that'll be on my list. I don't know if I'll play it next week or not, but yeah, it was like one of those things. I was gonna play it the day before Stellar Blade came out, and then I forgot what happened, and then I was like, "Oh, work started. I can't play it now." So, but yeah, it definitely. I'll try to play some next week just so we can talk about it. But Yeah, definitely. I would definitely recommend Tales of Kenzera Zau for anybody who likes Metroidvanias, and especially if you have PS Plus. It's on there, man. Just check it out, for sure. Anything else you wanna? Oh, I
Nope.
should mention. Got finished with the 16 DLC, and that Leviathan fight is freaking awesome. So it's well worth the money, and then the quests don't change that much, but it does have like a good ending. It has a good ending, and there's that apparently a special like ending that's also added if you do that extra mode that they added. That's kind of like the arcade like time trial-ish mode.
Yeah.
So, but I honestly like, and then you also get to fight the Tomberry. They have hunts at the end, like when you get to the epilogue quests. Some of them are hunts, and they have the whole same like setup that you don't have to go to the board and look at it or whatever, but they do the whole thing where they take the picture and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
One of them's the Tomberry King, so it's interesting to see the Tomberry King from this game, and then you can find them in Rebirth, and it's like the different ways that they look, and then I love the extra attack that he has this like special attack where he sends out the regular looking Tomberries, the ones that you'll see like in Rebirth, to like all at once kill you. And I'm just like, okay, they knew what they were doing here. I like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, 16 DLC, I think if you like 16 a lot, it's worth it. Go pay your it's worth to give the $25. You get a lot here. I think 10 hours worth between the two DLCs. It's a nice send off for the game. If they don't do anything else with it, I'm happy with what it is. So
Yeah.
glad they were able to do that for us 16 fans here. But okay, let's get into talking about some of the news that is going on here. I guess big thing that would have been bigger had we done the show earlier. Apologies, I had some things come up on Friday and we couldn't do it then. But Embracer Group has split into 3 companies.
Yep.
So we go from Embracer Group just being this one big company with all these different companies in it and everything else to we are now these 3 things. Look, these are placeholder names, so I would imagine that they're not going to keep these names.
They should, just because it's so stupid.
Yeah. So you have Asmodee, which is the like tabletop company.
Yeah.
They have like 23 full-own studios that do the board games and trading cards, digital board games, that kind of thing.
Like they own like Ticket to Ride and crap like that.
And I think they also said that's where most of their debt comes from. Is this too? Which is interesting. You would think that the money you had to pay to the Lord of the Rings rights holders would be the thing you have the most money on, but
that's a long-term investment. Everyone knows that Gollum game is gonna make its money back tenfold, within 100 years.
Exactly. So not only that, but they have Coffee Stain and Friends, which is where the main section I think of a lot of the games are going to come from, like your AA indie games, free to play games, that kind of thing. Those are all going to come from there. And then you have the Middle Earth Enterprises and Friends. Literally, that's what it's called. So this is anything to do with Lord of the Rings, and then your AAA stuff. Tomb Raider,
Crystal Dynamics, or
Dead Island, Metro, where Kingdom Come Deliverance is also from them. So they're working on that second game that's coming out this year, supposedly. So yeah, lots going on there. Do you think this helps them at all?
No.
Yeah.
And it's because the same guy that Lars, whatever the fuck his last name is still running all 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's been proven he's not a good CEO, or he's not like some business mastermind or something. Like, So that's a problem. Like, I think he's really trying to like be like, you know, the Swedish version of Elon Musk. And it's like, yo, Elon's companies don't particularly do that well. They do better when he's not around. So maybe you should take that hint as well.
Yeah, he did have like another interview where he kind of blames himself for a lot
Yeah.
of the issues,
But
right?
not enough to leave or to, you know, to
Yeah, not exactly, not enough to leave. He doesn't have to do this, by the way. It's not like somebody's
right.
crushing
Well,
him to go.
the thing is, like, the embracer name is so toxic that
Yeah,
if like if you're like, I know they said like, oh, our debt is clear or our debt is fine now, but it's like, well, they can't acquire new studios because no one ever would sell to them except for like
well, unless they
obscene.
really don't have an option, right? They have to sell to somebody. But yeah,
Well, even that, let's like, unless they had like obscene amounts of money to sell, and then D, like even if you get acquired by them, like you always have like, is today the day I'm gonna get laid off, you know, going
right,
forward. Uh, so I look at this as like just a changing of the name, a changing of the guard a little, but not enough to
right.
actually make a difference. Uh, yeah, I really think they should keep that stupid Middle Earth name though. That just for comedy's sake, really.
Yeah, and friends, like not even just and friends, coffee
Remember
stain and friends.
remember the old cartoon Garfield and Friends? Like,
Yeah, exactly. It's like they have a new movie coming out. Like it's
yeah,
just we
maybe they
couldn't
can
think
buy
of anything else. I don't know,
finally
just
buy
call it
Garfield.
Asmo D Corp or something. I don't know. Like
Yeah,
this, yeah, it's such an interesting why they chose this name kind of thing.
I mean, the two companies that I kind of care about from this mess is Limited Run. I think they're with. I was told they're with Middle Earth, and then
That makes
Zen
sense. Yeah.
Zen Studios. Uh, I think they might be part of the not the Asmodee, but the Coffee Stain ones. Uh, and I watched a video of their new. They always put out new tables, and they have a Pacific Rim table, and I said, first of all, timely because that movie's not 8 years old. And second of all, it is like the most like half-assed, cheap thing you can imagine. Like, they don't have the music from the movies. They don't have any of the cast from the movies. They don't have any of the voice acting at all from the movies, except for like one GLaDOS line. And it's
Wow,
like, wow, like if you only had $10 to make a virtual pinball table, I guess this is what you get, you know?
that's it's
Like, I'm not expecting them to get Idris Elba to, you know, do a fucking pinball table, but they could get a sound alike, or they could, you know, there are lower tier people in the cast, or lower cost people, I should say, that they could get. They could
yeah.
afford Ron Perlman. Let's be honest here.
They could if they wanted to spend the money.
Right?
Do they
Yeah.
want to do that?
Yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Is like, oh, you know, they have like a Xena table, and it's like, yo, get her. Like,
How
because
much
if
would
I,
she charge to go back to that at this point, though? Like,
hey, she doesn't
you
have to
know,
fucking wear the outfit or get in shape. Like, she can still pull off
yeah,
the
just
voice box
provide the
pretty
voice.
well.
You mean, yeah.
Yeah. Like, so just like, Jesus Christ. Like, no wonder Pinball FX3 is a trash fire right now.
I
But
mean, is it worth it for? Would it really help the sales if they
I think it would,
put that
or
in?
I might be more interested, at least conceptually.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Uh, but yeah, this whole thing is like, you know, just a mess. I imagine this will last for like 2 or 3 years, if it lasts even
Well, it'll
that
take like
long.
a whole year just for them to like close
But
this
yeah,
whole thing.
so I think like
So,
2025 is like when the other one or like one of them splits off.
yeah,
Again,
exactly.
though, it's just like that guy's leading it at all, so forget it.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe I mean, I guess they will probably give him time to see if it works. I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So if he does leave, it'd be after, like if this fails again or doesn't really do anything. I would have wanted to see like Crystal Dynamics also get sold before they, but I think they probably can't because the whole Amazon deal, that they have with the Tomb Raider like TV show and property rights. So
right,
they kind of have to they kind of have to have somebody around that could make games if they need to.
right. Because they got no one left.
Which
Or
that's something.
no one that people care about left. Let's say that.
Yeah, I mean, they have like a lot of good studios, but I don't know if they can really afford right now to be greenlighting a bunch of stuff,
Right.
with the way things are. So yeah, I hope that for the developers involved that this game they have coming out does well. But yeah, I don't know. If it helps the developers at all, I'm good for it. But like you said, having Lars Wingforce still involved doesn't give me a lot of faith as far as that goes.
Right.
But speaking of people that have TV shows in development or out there and they need to make games. First of all, speaking of TV shows, I should have mentioned that Knuckles Paramount Plus show also came out this week. I forgot
I
about
haven't
it.
watched it.
So
I
I
knew
guess
about it, but I haven't watched it yet. But I will.
I guess we can watch it and we'll talk about it for next week. But Microsoft's obviously getting a lot of boom with Fallout right now. It's even mentioned in their whole sales report by Satya Nadella. He just takes that whole report from Tweaktown and just talks about how, hey, we were the highest selling publisher on the PlayStation Store not too long ago.
Yeah.
Like, a few weeks ago or whatever. And we want to make sure that we keep meeting players where they are, bringing great games or people on more devices. And then, of course, they did really well in the whole revenue department. 62% of that, with 61 points of it coming from the Activision Blizzard deal, but their Xbox hardware went down. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, do they care about that necessarily when you get all this from that? I mean, it shows two things to me. Why they bought the Activision Blizzard? Because now they can count that as part of their revenue, right? That's theirs now. That's it doesn't matter what the rest of it's doing. Hey, we're getting revenue because Activision Blizzard, all this other stuff, right? But then Xbox hardware is not selling. So
yeah, it's nice to meet players where they are. I'm like, well, start putting all your games on PS5 then.
yeah, I wonder if that's a clue to are they going to have any more lined up? If depending on the reports and all that stuff, it feels like there might be some.
I really think that I don't think it'll be now, but I think Starfield will come out like when they put out DLC for Starfield, like they will immediately put out like a game of the year or like the collection of both on PS5. Like here you go.
Definitely. It feels like whenever you get that expansion or whatnot, you're going to get Starfield on PS5. They're not going to come out and announce it right now because I'm sure the fire that will start on social media will be just like the reason why they had to have that podcast.
They should just shadow drop it. You're like, it's out now. Go buy it.
Oh my god, I don't know if that might be a little bit better for everybody. Just turn off your notifications and go away for like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah,
but I mean the other games have done well. So Sea of Thieves is literally about to drop this week, I think. So
I think it's already out.
Or was no? They were doing some kind of patch or something
beta
for it
or
pretty soon.
okay,
yeah. So it's good that it's all those things are doing well. I don't think anybody. I think it does say something about like these are not your marquee franchises, right? Like if these do decently well. Like, they're not revealing numbers, obviously. They're just saying, okay, you have this many players and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it feels like Satya is going to tell him, okay, we're going to have to get some of the bigger ones, right? But then, like, once you open the floodgates too far, it makes it very difficult for those hardware numbers to go back up unless you are just doing this so you can justify getting sequels, and then you lock everything behind the new Xbox when it comes out or whatever. And
well, one thing is you mentioned marquee franchises, and it's like, okay, aside from, all the stuff they just recently acquired, like Microsoft doesn't have any marquee franchises except for like Forza.
I feel like when you get the announcement of Gears 6, that's going to become a marquee franchise again. Which it looks like in June we're going to get the announcement.
I don't know. Like that's the problem of like Gears 5 didn't set the world on fire, or like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it did. Gears 5 did well. It's just we were full into Game Pass at that point, also, and then
So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, the console sales are tanking, but that's also like, I wouldn't say a huge surprise considering how they've handled stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is also, it's like, have they really had anything? I don't think they've had anything come out so far this year. So that's of note. And then, like, the thing with the Fallout issue is that's to me is a big issue. Like, the Halo show is so bad or not well thought of enough that they have a game that they are constantly updating that could benefit from people actually being excited about Halo, but that show didn't do well enough. But then the Fallout TV show comes out, and you're having people buy these old ass games, and you don't have anything new in the pipeline.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we got Fallout 76 still plugging along, or and we added the characters in Fallout Shelter. It's like,
oh, and we added this patch that should have been out like years ago. And then
that apparently is not good. Like,
yeah, not great.
Shit, so,
and it's kind of just, it's really telling that, I mean, I get it. I get that, like, Phil has this like whole hands-off approach, Phil Spencer, and that's fine if that's the way Xbox wants to do things. And I get it that that's Todd Howard's baby and he doesn't want to let other people do it. But, like, bro, you have Obsidian sitting right there. Like, you couldn't do something even, like, just.
Oh, they got that Avowed thing that no one cares about that they're working on.
Well, I mean, they do, but it's like you couldn't section off pieces of Bethesda and Obsidian and tell them, okay, start pre-planning something with Fallout, whether it's a smaller game, right? That kind of gives you that itch of Fallout, but it doesn't have to be this full-fledged adventure. And then you can say, okay, well, if you want to go play these older games, we have them. We're not going to get Fallout 5 until later,
You know, it actually would have been really smart, and they can't do this now because that patch broke it. They should have actually made that Fallout London fan DLC like official or legitimate.
Yeah.
And say, we'll buy it from you, or we'll put money behind it, because that thing's supposed to be out actually like really soon. So if they did that, you're like, here's new Fallout content, or here you go. And it's not going to be it's not going to be like in the in LA or where the fuck Fallout 4 took place, or Maryland, but here's more Fallout stuff here,
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, it's a weird time for Xbox right now. I mean, look, they got games coming, so when they do eventually show up, like the Indiana Jones and Avowed and all that stuff, and Hellblade's coming in a month now. It's less than a month actually. So hopefully, you'll be able to talk about Xbox in a positive light that isn't kind of trying to make mincemeat of whether we should count Activision Blizzard into their stuff or not. Like, I get it, the people that are trying to kind of just say, well, if they didn't have this, well, the problem is they have this now. So it does have to be counted. You can say that it's covering up holes or whatever, and you'd be right to say that. But right now, they've kind of got to start from the ground floor, right? Of getting all these studios doing stuff. And I think that kind of parallels into why we're not having BlizzCon this year. Because do they really have anything major to show that's worth doing BlizzCon? Other than, I guess, the World of Warcraft stuff. But
just two things. First of all, I'd say, I mean, now that we have the Fallout TV show, I want the Microsoft Flight Simulator TV show. But yeah, Blizzard, like it's Blizzard, or BlizzCon is supposed to be like a celebration of Blizzard's games, and it's like, okay, you got 5 franchises or 5 games, like big, and 4.5 of them are on life support. So
right.
What are we celebrating unless it's like the death knell of Blizzard, or like what Blizzard used to be?
Right, Diablo 4 is doing okay because of the players that are playing from Game Pass. Right, and they'll have new seasons or whatever. I don't know if there's going to be one that's going to finally catch fire or not, but right now it seems like they're not. People are just kind of, oh, we'll come to that game when we come to it. It's not something that nobody's talking about. It's not in the zeitgeist at all. Nobody's sitting here just, oh man, I went back to Diablo 4 because I had an itch for that. Like, I hear more people talking about I went back to Pillars of Eternity or something like that. Or the last Epoch game that came out this year or something. You don't hear that much for Diablo. Well, like you said, a lot of the other franchises are just kind of there.
StarCraft is old. Hearthstone is dead, or dying. Overwatch 2 is a trash fire.
It's a shell of itself of the first one. Yeah.
And WoW is still kind of kicking along, but even like WoW's popularity is pretty not there. Like people aren't excited for current WoW, at least that I've seen. People are more excited for
they just they're about to add Cataclysm right to the vanilla WoW. Like, are we gonna get to the point where we just catch up to WoW and then it's WoW but on other servers?
I actually never played any. I never played those classic servers, so I don't know how they actually do it. If it literally is just like if it has to keep continuing, or if it's like, no, I just want to play WoW original classic. Can I just select that? I think it is like that. But if it's like the first one where it's like they have to keep catching up, it's like, no, people don't want that,
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the new DLC, the new expansions are probably gonna do their thing. Right.
I mean, they'll revitalize the game for like a month when everyone kind of burns through all the content, and then go back to the regular, like, all right, I don't really care about rating or like, intently, so I'll wait.
Right, but I think also it's like WoW's to that point where it's been around so long.
Yeah, it's like,
that everybody that's going to have played WoW will have played WoW. We're getting so many live service games now that's like you don't really have the option to go play WoW because you feel like it. You're already probably playing some other live service game. You're not having younger generations introduced to WoW because they have Fortnite, they have all these other live existing games that they can choose from already, right? So
I think one other problem with WoW is because it's so old. Like, I know Final Fantasy 7 or not 7, Final Fantasy 14 just put out like a new patch or like a tool to like upgrade the game visually again. Because some people can't
because Dontrell's going to do that. They're going to upgrade the game visually. Yeah.
And WoW's had like one of those, and that was like 12 years ago. I think that was Cataclysm. So if you look at that game now, it looks old as shit. And it's like, wow, like even like cranked max settings, like it still has like the bones of this like old ass game. So who is this like appealing to at this point, except for the 40-year-olds who played that game 20 years ago in college?
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's the thing. It's like, okay, I mean, the younger kids are liking those old games, right? But old games from the generation they grew up with those graphics and everything else, right? It's not, they're not going to looking to go play WoW or whatever. And then even then, it's like you'll hear people talking about, oh, I want to start Final Fantasy 14, right? You don't hear anybody going, oh, I want to start WoW from vanilla to now or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I actually just watched part of a guy, and he's about our age, maybe like I think maybe like a year or two older. And he started playing WoW for the first time, and he's completely lost because he did like the tutorial, and then they sectioned him off in like the BFA expansion, and he was like, I don't know what is going on at all. And the way they like get you into the game is like terrible for like new players. So,
Right.
you know, if you are a new player, good luck because you're going to need it if you're not kept up on the lore for the past 10 years of that game.
Yeah, you're going to have to go watch a bunch of YouTube lore videos to know what the hell's going on. Like, you know. And thankfully you have that now because we used to not have stuff like that. That made it really easy for you to.
WoW's also so big, but they've also jettisoned all their old content that you'd be like, why is this game so large and it's all the same now? Like,
do you have a worry that they canceled it this time? They do have the excuse that they don't really have a lot to show, right?
No, I think BlizzCon's done. Like, really?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think that BlizzCon would come back?
No, not unless it was like the dismantling of the Blizzard campus. You know, like go steal the orc statue in front of the Blizzard building because you know we're moving everyone to Seattle. And
I think they could do it as like it's a smaller thing, right? You do it as part of what Xbox is doing in June. You don't have it be its own thing that you do like 2 months later. They could tie it all together and have Blizzard do its own little, oh, this is BlizzCon. It's not going to be this huge event that it used to be, but it's still, this is what BlizzCon is now. I can see them doing something like that.
I think if they did that, they would legitimately have to, like Blizzard would have to have like 2 new games.
Yeah.
Like wholly new franchise games. And they seem incapable of doing that.
Yeah, it would have to be like, okay, you could do the WoW expansion, and then you have to have something else to kind of like headline. Because right now you can just put the WoW expansion in the Xbox showcase, and that's kind of it. Like you don't
right.
There's really nothing
like
else
like legitimately, I think one thing that might get people interested is if they said like, "Hey, we're working on WoW for Xbox, or we're working on WoW for consoles." Like that would be very interesting, or like go for it. But we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, they've talked about it a few times. They've been asked this, and we've talked about it on here, where they keep having a producer talk about how, well, we're always thinking about WoW for consoles. And it's like, okay, I mean, how much of that are you going to keep mentioning until somebody just announces one day that they're working on it?
Yeah.
Like you're mentioning a lot. So aside from Xbox stuff and Blizzard, there also is the ID at Xbox showcases on Monday at 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific, wherever it is you live. You can watch the newest ID at Xbox stuff. They usually do show some like new games or at least give you more updates on some other ones. So we're going to see Dungeons of Hinterberg, which is one of the ones I'm excited about, which is supposed to come out this year still. 33 Immortals, which is like the Hades looking game, but it's co-op.
Yeah, I got 33 people.
Yeah, Lost Records and Bloom and Rage and a few others. So hopefully they'll show some Replaced on there as well. I'm looking forward to that game still. Maybe they'll drop Hollow Knight Silk Song in here. It's like the one.
I mean, maybe just like a release date, or like it'll be out in a week or something.
No, but I feel like if they were going to do that, just wait till June for the big Xbox thing. But yeah, well, we'll see what they end up doing. But that one should be an interesting thing for that, for sure. Getting into Nintendo for a little bit here, some rumors on the Switch 2 joycons. So apparently the Pro Controller will be backwards compatible. This is according to Vandal, a Spanish video games website that they also reported on some other Switch Pro Switch stuff, and we're ended up right. So, but apparently the Pro controller is going to be backwards compatible, so that's good for me. I don't have to buy another
except
one.
Except for the Switch Pro not coming out.
Yeah, except for the Switch Pro not coming out, but
that little tidbit.
They did report on some of the features that did show up in the OLED, like the stand and the Ethernet port or whatever.
Yeah.
But still, the Joy-Cons though, they will attach magnetically apparently instead of with the rail. So they may not be backwards compatible. So you may have to buy, if you're one of those folks that have bought like every single Joy-Con, get ready because you might have to buy a whole new set of Joy-Cons again.
I imagine they may have like some cradle or some type of case, or that you can put the old Joy-Con in and that'll work. And why not?
Yeah, I'm just happy the Pro Controller works. So that's what I use most of the
actual
time.
controller for the Switch.
Yeah, like if I play it handheld, I'm just holding both the the whole thing by itself. I'm not playing separately. So it is what it is, but that's good. That's good that at least the Pro Controller will work. If they mix the Joy-Cons where you don't lose them, but it's weird because like that's part of I guess the charm, right, of the Switch. Like the whole reason they do that snap thing with the Direct is that sound that the Joy-Cons make when they click into the actual system. So will they replicate that sound at all just to be able to keep doing the same little thing with the Switch?
They'll have like the sci-fi sound for magnetic stuff.
Yeah, maybe. So the other stuff here is some kind of like sour news. Capcom is delisting some games. They are on sale right now, by the way. So if you want to go buy these games, Dark Void, the Dark Void Zero, the retro style platformer of Dark Void, and Flock, which is like a sandbox puzzle game. They're on sale until May 8th, and then they're going to get pulled from stores, at least Steam and PC.
Yeah.
I don't know about, I'm assuming the console stores, they will eventually pull them if they don't pull them right away as well. So
yeah,
more games are getting taken off. Yeah,
but at least they're giving people notice. And again, I've seen some elements of the internet going like, oh, it's a travesty or it's an injustice that this game is getting pulled. And it's like, yo, those games are 15 years old. Like, who's playing, what's the player count of Dark Void in the past year? I'd say under 100 people.
I mean, I get the point is that they don't want any of these games to get taken down.
Yeah.
Right? It sucks when this happens, but like you said, at least they're getting people notice that if you want to go buy it, it's pretty cheap. Go buy these games if you want, just to support the developers and kind of, show Capcom that you care a little bit or something. But I mean, this is just going to keep happening, unfortunately. And also should note that Little Big Planet 3's online servers have shut down permanently.
Yeah,
they were taken down at the beginning of this year because of some errors, some issues, and then all of a sudden, now Sony's just announcing that they're down permanently. So you can't share any of the creations anymore. You can only have them on your system, which that sucks.
Yeah, it's like the Mario Maker 1 part, or it's that's all you can do is make your own stuff. I don't know. It's really hard to imagine what Media Molecule is going to do, because I think from most vantage points, you could say that Dreams was kind of a failure.
Yeah,
and
it was.
Do they go back to the Little Big Planet name, or do they make another Sackboy game?
Well, because somebody else, Sumo Digital, whatever, made the one
Sackboy
on Sackboy, the one on the launch game.
Yeah.
So
it's a conundrum, and I don't think Sony, I think they needed them more before, but I don't think they need or really want the type of game now.
Right, and they already have Astrobot. as well that they can kind of pull whenever if they wanted to have the mascot game or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Which, I mean, they really should, because there's kids that will play that on PS5, and that could literally be their first game, and that gets them into gaming. Like, there's so many people that having a full-fledged Astrobot game on PS5 would do wonders for them. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I really hope Media Molecule can find something that they can work on, and I hope they don't just become like a support studio, or they end up closing the studio entirely. Like, I really wouldn't want to see that. Just absolutely suck. Oh, but it just sucks to see this. And part of the reason why this is a thing, right, is that the ESA had a lawyer, according to game developer, ESA had a lawyer, Steve England, that was asked about a scenario in which public libraries could be permitted to preserve online video games. After official support had concluded, he said there's no combination of limitations that would support to provide remote access. Of course, it doesn't help that ESA also includes all the game publishers. So
yeah, I think people have the misconception that the ESA is some like public group or policy group that defends gamers or stuff like that. It's like, no, they are a group made up of the game companies. So of course not. They're not gonna want people to like bring back old games or to support what they consider piracy or preservation. Like, no shit.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, you can't right now, he also mentions that there's nothing that says a physical location to house these games would actually allow for easy access of it. And then also the main point is that there is no legal ramifications right now that makes these publishers have to provide access to these games after they are officially no longer supported. That's the thing that I talked about, or we've talked about a bunch of times. We talked about it again. We talked about the crew going down. Until somebody in Congress cares, if ever cares enough to make it to where you have to provide access to games, doesn't have to be physically, but you have to provide some kind of access to them after you decide to take them off the store, this will continue to happen. Now, we haven't gotten to the point where, hopefully we never do. To this point, we've always had a way to access our old games. If you bought them digitally, you can re-download them or whatever. I'm assuming that at some point we're going to see this with the Nintendo Wii Shop and Wii U Shop and 3DS Shop and DS Shop and 360 and PS3, that at some point, because somebody still has to pay for that to exist somewhere, they may decide to revoke, just tell you, if you don't have it downloaded to your system or you don't have it downloaded to something, you no longer will be able to re-download it. We will not have it up available for you to do. And that will be a dark day when that happens. Hopefully it never does. Hopefully Congress will have enacted something by then. But as it stands right now, I think it would take something like that, honestly, for Congress to get involved. It would take somebody losing the rights completely to a bunch of games, not just one game, a bunch of games from a publisher, in order for somebody to enact something that says you have to give the owner access. But then there's also that EULA that you signed that says you don't own the game, right? You're just getting a license to play the game. So that's another thing that, like, eventually somebody will probably have to sue and win a court case over in order for that to happen. So it's unfortunate that game preservation isn't as this thought after thing by the industry itself. Because why? Because they get to remake the game 10 years later and be like, well, this is the definitive version of the game. So that's it. Like, you can either play this or don't play anything, or try to find a physical version of Paper Mario 1000 Year Door for whatever it is you want to pay. If you don't want to play it in 30 frames per second, too bad.
Right.
Which again, another one of those stupid controversies that we're having about, oh my God, this is an old game. Why does it not run at 60 frames per second? I don't know. Because the Switch has to render things at a higher graphical fidelity so that you can get your remake. So it can't run at 60 frames. Like, just I don't know. If people need to stop making this a big deal, like just wait for Switch 2 and stop complaining about the Switch not running a game at
and then
whatever.
Wait for the Switch 2, and then you can start complaining about that instead.
Exactly. You can start complaining about why the Switch 2 doesn't run this thing. And I mean, to be fair, we have this problem with the PS5 and Xbox Series games not running things at 60. This is why we're supposed to have the PS5 Pro, right? That's supposed to solve a lot of the issues. And I say solve in quotation because there probably won't either.
And it's because a lot of these issues are so minute, or they don't matter to 99% of people.
Yeah, they don't. They're
vocal
just
and assholes that scream about DLSS or ray tracing. It's like, who cares?
Yeah, it's silly. It really is. People are just making too big a deal about stuff that, hey, you can still play the game, right? I mean, yes, maybe it'll bother you that it doesn't run at the best graphical fidelity or whatever that you wanted to, but you can still play the game. So, but all right. Anything else you wanted to?
No, I heard the dog barking in the background, so it's time to go.
No, it's just got enough. I have the 3 dogs, and then we have one that's for my aunt that my grandma has to go give to my aunt in Arkansas when she goes in a week. So we have a little bitty Maltese that's just he's there and making noise, I think. But it's talking about the games that came out that are coming out this week. Also, one game we didn't talk about, Sandland, also came out this week.
Yeah, did you see that? I haven't got a review code, but it's for Xbox.
Yes.
Yep.
I was like, nope. The demo. I know I've heard that the demo apparently doesn't do the game any favors, and it's apparently better than the demo says it is. But no, thank you. Mandalore's also out. We have a review of it on Last Word on gaming, so you can go check that out. That Top Spin 2K25 game is also apparently pretty decent, so you can go check that out. For the Front Mission 2 remake comes out to everything but Switch on the 30th in a couple of days, so go check that out if you like the first one. You can go play that. Yes, I did. Sea of Thieves is coming to PS5 on the 30th. Also, that's what I meant. That was pretty much about to come out. They were just doing that like beta test kind of thing.
Yeah,
and then we're like, it's crazy. We're officially into May now. We're getting almost to the halfway point of the year already for games. And some of these, the Little Kitty Big City, I think got moved up. It's coming out on the 2nd now, along with that Endless Ocean remake or remaster, whatever that is for the Switch. That's the next notable Switch game, I guess, until we get the Paper Mario. So, yeah, a few things coming out for folks to look into before we get to next week. But all right. Go check out that Indie Xbox Direct. We'll be back hopefully on the regular Friday time. And until then, see you later, everybody.
Later.